Tonight, could a Supreme Court ruling trigger multiple legal challenges from men convicted of sex offences? Judges rule that Scottish courts are risking defendants' right to a fair trial in their approach to evidence. Also on tonight's programme.
This is a united team and we are delivering together.
The Prime Minister defends his government after rumours of a leadership challenge. 3 men are arrested after the body of a man is found in a field near Kilmacombe in Inverclyde.
And coming up in the sport, Bournemouth owner Bill Foley sells his shares in Hibernian, saying his partnership with the club hasn't worked.
I'm Rebecca Curran. This is Reporting Scotland. A landmark ruling by the UK Supreme Court could trigger multiple legal challenges by men convicted of sexual offences in Scotland. It ruled that since 2017, Scotland's courts have taken an approach to evidence which risks depriving a defendant of their right to a fair trial. The Law Society of Scotland has welcomed the judgment, while Rape Crisis Scotland says it could represent a step backwards for victims. Our Home Affairs correspondent David Cowan reports.
The UK Supreme Court first heard this case last October. It's taken a year for its full judgment to arrive. 2 men convicted of rape argued their trials were unfair because they weren't allowed to lead certain evidence about their alleged victims. Today, the Supreme Court rejected their appeals, but said Scotland's approach to so-called rape shield laws could breach the European Convention on Human Rights.
The Supreme Court unanimously dismisses the appellant's appeals, but it finds that the Scottish courts should modify their current approach to the admission of evidence in trials for sexual offences, as it is so restrictive that it is liable to infringe defendants' rights under Article 6 of the Convention.
The rape shield laws are designed to protect the complainer, the alleged victim, from facing unfair or intrusive questions about their sexual history. A campaign involving supporters of men convicted in the courts say the rules have stopped them from presenting a full defence. That campaign has been criticised over its conduct towards victims, but its basic argument is echoed by legal organisations who intervened in the case in London. They argued successfully that Scotland's courts had gone too far.
Juries were not being trusted to use their common sense, and the judgment today allows judges greater freedom to say to the jury, you are trusted now to look at these facts, but we'll give you guidance in how you can use them and how you must not abuse those facts.
It will give the trial judge the discretion to deal with the issues case by case.
But an organisation which helps victims of sexual assault has grave concerns.
Scotland has the lowest conviction rate for rape of any crime type. Women regularly talk of experiencing the process as violating and extremely traumatic. I am worried that this judgment will represent a step backwards that will not only make it harder for complainants giving evidence in court, but it could actually put women off reporting in the first place because of fear of what's going to happen.
This judgment will have an impact on future and ongoing cases, but the implications for people who've already been convicted aren't at all clear. Remember, the Supreme Court rejected the appeals of the 2 men who were at the centre of this case. David Cowan, Reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
It's been a turbulent 24 hours for the Prime Minister. Last night, his allies briefed journalists he was prepared to fight an immediate threat to his leadership, which was allegedly coming from his Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. This morning, Mr Streeting branded the briefings self-destructive, saying those responsible had been watching too much Celebrity Traitors. Then Keir Starmer faced questions in the Commons, where the opposition accused him of losing control. The Prime Minister insists his top team remains united. With more on all of this, here's our Westminster correspondent, Paris Gourtsianis.
After some cloak and dagger briefings yesterday,
is the Health Secretary a traitor or a faithful Prime Minister?
This morning the Health Secretary protested his loyalty.
Someone's definitely been watching too much Celebrity Traitors in Downing Street. I think they should swap it for Countryfile in future and calm down a bit. I'm a faithful.
But Wes Streeting said whoever briefed against him from within Number 10 should be sacked. They're normally seen as close allies, and today at PMQs, the Prime Minister stood by his Health Secretary.
Let me be clear, of course, Mr Speaker, I've never authorised attacks on Cabinet members. I appointed them to their posts because they're the best people to carry out their jobs.
But Keir Starmer faced questions over who is really in control.
But the truth is, he says these attacks aren't authorised. That means he's lost control of number 10, because that's where they're coming from. But the real scandal, Mr Speaker, the real scandal is that 2 weeks from a budget, the government has descended into civil war.
The identity of the Downing Street briefer isn't known, but the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, is the focus of criticism. This Scottish Labour MP said whoever was behind the briefing should be out of a job.
Probably you should not be attacking government ministers, as the Prime Minister said very clearly in the House of Commons today. He came out really clearly and said that. But the crazy thing is, Wes Streeting is doing an amazing job as Health Secretary. So what I haven't answered
whether they should be sacked.
Yeah, probably they should be.
Rather than any immediate threat to the Prime Minister's future, this feels like a story of a briefing campaign gone wrong. But whether they're supportive of the Prime Minister or not, Labour MPs in the background are deeply unhappy and worried. One told me today that it was a matter of when, not if, there'd be a challenge to the Prime Minister. And a senior Scottish Labour source told BBC Scotland today that this was all self-inflicted damage and deeply unhelpful to the party. And of course, it's also a gift to Labour's political opponents.
It's quite clear the Labour Party is riven with internal dissent, and it therefore can't focus on sorting out the major challenges that the Labour government was elected to solve. And as a consequence, I think what's happened overnight, an almost breathtaking briefing operation by Number 10, which demonstrates the weakness of the Prime Minister.
Stormy days at Westminster come and go. Longer term, it's the political climate that will worry Keir Starmer, especially Scottish elections in May. Little relief from the risk of being banished. Paris Gortsianis, reporting Scotland, Westminster.
Well, our political editor, Glenn Campbell, joins us now. And Glenn, where does this leave the Prime Minister less than 6 months out before those elections here and elsewhere in the UK?
Well, if you asked last night, would Sir Keir Starmer be Prime Minister at the time of next May's elections to the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Parliament and parts of local government in England, I would have said, yes, he probably would be. Tonight, I'm not so sure, because whoever among his allies decided to brief about the potential for a leadership contest and that he would fight any efforts to get rid of him have exposed a weakness. They've turned this issue into a matter of very public debate, and I don't think that does him or the Labour Party any good at all. The argument would be that if you replace him before those elections, would it be possible the Prime Minister to improve levels of support and lead the party to better election outcomes?
Glenn, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Thank you so much. We're having a little bit of a problem with your microphone. I hope that viewers managed to get at least some of what Glenn was saying there. Apologies for that. Now, 3 men have been arrested after a body was found at a field in Inverclyde. Police are investigating a potential link between the discovery in Kilmacombe with a disturbance around 10 miles away in Greenock. Our reporter, Suzanne Allen, has more.
There is still police activity here in the field near High Mathernock Farm, which is near Kilmacombe in Inverclyde. It was around 9:20 a.m. yesterday morning when police were called to a report of a body found in a field here. The man has not formally been identified, but the family of a 50-year-old missing man from Greenock have been made aware. Officers are investigating whether this might be linked to a disturbance in Greenock earlier that morning. Large areas of Lansbury Street in Greenock remain taped off today, with uniformed officers guarding a blue tent after the disturbance, which took place around 2:45 a.m. on Tuesday. Here on Lansbury Street, people we've spoken to didn't want to go on camera, but they told me they were aware of an altercation close by. One woman I spoke to said she'd been woken in the early hours of the morning with police in the street. 3 men aged 51, 44 and 45 have been arrested, and extensive inquiries are ongoing. Suzanne Allen, reporting Scotland, Greenock.
Some of the day's other stories now. Police are investigating after a woman was raped in Glasgow city centre. Emergency services were called to Sauchiehall Lane at about 3:10 this morning after a serious sexual assault was reported. The lane was cordoned off as officers attended the scene. Police Scotland say inquiries are ongoing. Scottish and Southern Energy has announced a £33 billion 5-year investment programme, which it says will transform the UK's electricity infrastructure. It comes as the firm also reports a slump in profits for the past 6 months. Some of the money will go towards renewable energy sources, including an offshore wind farm. Aberdeen may be left as the only Scottish city without a Pride Parade next year. The charity Four Pillars is stepping back from organising the event, citing financial pressures and what it describes as a significant rise in hate crimes. Grampian Pride first took place in 2018. The group says it will still focus on frontline LGBT+ services in the North East.
We see it all the time, people getting abuse online, people walking down the road and they're coming in and telling us they're being abused. It's important to keep Four Pillars up and running, to make sure that we're here 365 days a year to support our community. We see over 100 people every single month and we need to focus on that.
Now, Scotland's largest teaching union, the EIS, is balloting members for strike action in a dispute over workload. Union bosses say the Scottish Government rolled back on its previous manifesto pledge to reduce teachers' face-to-face classroom contact time to 21 hours a week maximum. The Government says it's disappointed at the move, but discussions are ongoing. Well, our social affairs correspondent Chris Clements joins us now. Hi, Chris. Just tell us a little bit more about what this dispute is all about.
Well, disputes about a manifesto pledge that was made by the SNP before it won the 2021 Holyrood election, and that was to reduce the number of contact hours that teachers have. So that's time spent in front of a classroom, teaching pupils, delivering lessons, and the contracted hours for that at the minute is 22.5 hours per week. They said they would bring it down to 21 hours per week. The rationale being that it will help teachers plan lessons better, have more time for marking, catch up and paperwork. So because that hasn't happened, the EIS is proceeding with this postal ballot from today. Other teaching unions are expected to follow suit from next week with results due in January. Now, EIS General Secretary Andrea Bradley spoke to the BBC, said there's been ongoing discussions between government, teaching unions, the councils for the last 5 years, and nothing concrete on these has come out of these discussions. So here's what she had to say to us earlier today.
Teacher workload is chronically high and has been for a decade and a half. We have a swathe of research evidence that shows that teachers are working on average the equivalent of a day and a half a week extra unpaid over and above what they do in their 35-hour contracted working week. And that's not a situation that is fair, healthy or sustainable for Scotland's teachers.
So what's the response been, Chris?
The Scottish Government agrees that reducing class contact could help support the time and space necessary for teachers. It will drive improvement, reform, deliver better outcomes for pupils. It said it's been working to deliver these changes at pace. It said in a statement, ministers respect union members' right to withdraw their labour but are disappointed that the EIS has taken this action while these constructive discussions are ongoing. Similarly, COSLA, which represents local councils, said it was also disappointed that the teaching unions were progressing with the ballots. So in terms of timeline here, results will come back in January. Should these strikes go ahead, should they vote for the strike, they will likely take place in late January into February, and that's when Scotland could see some school closures.
OK, Chris, thanks very much for that update. Now, the Chief Constable of Police Scotland says the force will record rapes and attempted rapes as being committed by a man in cases where the perpetrator identifies as a woman. Joe Farrell told Holyrood's Public Petitions Committee no biological male accused of rape or attempted rape had ever been recorded as a woman, but added it was important to give clarity around the policy for the future.
Gender self-identification is a complex area of public policy and practice, as illustrated by the work of this committee. The debate has evolved over a number of years, but let me be clear. My priority is to protect victims.
Now, severe weather is now an all-year-round challenge. That was the warning from the Scottish Government today as they met with road, rail and ferry bosses to discuss their preparation for the winter and to avoid a repeat of the damage and disruption wrought by recent storms. Here's our transport correspondent, David Henderson.
whole roof just blew off.
Eowyn, an unwelcome New Year visitor and one of the worst storms that Scotland's faced in years. It caused damage and disruption and brought much of the transport network grinding to a halt. Today, at a rail depot in Glasgow, they were working on vehicles brought in to deal with extreme weather, if there's more of it this coming winter. These trucks are built to run on roads or rail tracks to reach and repair trouble spots that bit faster. Transport operators have learnt the hard way that machines like this make all the difference.
The response is really important to be able to clear the roads from fallen trees, but also from flooding situations. And also in rail, if you get high winds over the wires, you can have real damage. So being able to respond quickly with the state-of-the-art equipment that you see here today is really important.
More extreme weather brings the prospect of more trees coming down on our roads and railway lines. And that's where heavy-duty equipment like this comes in. And if it's snow which blocks the line this winter, how about this? A snowplough designed to punch right through the drifts. For now, it's sitting in the rail yard waiting for action, wherever and whenever that is.
Normally we would experience extreme weather in the far north, in the Highlands, but now it's impacting all of the country and it's impacting the network out with the traditional seasons. So it really is increasing the demand, rightly, on us to try and come up with innovation in respect of how we keep the network open.
Last week, the West Coast Main Line was blocked by a train which came off the rails, thanks, it seems, to torrential rain and a landslide. It highlights the year-round risk from extreme weather, but also how the response can make all the difference. David Henderson, reporting Scotland.
Now, communities along the Moray Firth say they're concerned about plans to park parts for floating wind turbines at two sites just offshore. A developer has permission to look into building anchored storage facilities on the seabed off Nairn and Findhorn, but many believe they're inappropriate for the area. Cameron Angus Mackay reports.
It's the perfect coastline for sailing, but is that about to change? A developer is exploring the possibility of building two anchored wet storage facilities to look after turbine parts.
A lot of it will depend on exclusion zones, for instance, around floating or moving shipping. And some of that could have a fairly profound impact on what we do. It could be more dangerous. I mean, even just having to avoid things and shipping. The main thing is if the weather changes, you can't just make a beeline for the shore.
The sites could be located several kilometres from the shore. In towns like Nairn, locals want to know how infrastructure out there would impact wildlife and leisure activities.
We do believe that this needs to be appropriately sited, and our big concerns here are that this development is being placed in a SAC, so a special area of conservation, designated specifically for bottlenose dolphins.
I believe Nairn is also fully packed out tonight as well, so that's another.
Last night, the company Offshore Solutions Group pulled out of a public meeting over safety concerns to the surprise of many there. With emotions running high, Crown Estate Scotland explained the agreement.
All that does is give a proposed developer the option to look at an area of seabed to see if it's suitable for them to take forward a full proposal. It is basic survey, basic sampling.
In a statement, the developer says the project is at an early stage with environmental assessments and a formal consultation to follow.
The other question is this a done deal? Is it actually going to happen here, or is there other options under consideration?
As this recent shoreline protest shows, communities are demanding more engagement now. Cameron Angus Mackay, reporting Scotland, Moray.
Well, that story came to us as part of the Your Voice, Your BBC News initiative, and we want to hear about the stories that are important to you too. You can head to bbc.co.uk/yourvoice or scan the QR code on your screen now to find out how to get in touch. And now it's time for tonight's sport with Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hi, Rebecca. Thank you very much. Hello there. The owner of Bournemouth, who invested £6 million in Hibernian last year, has sold his shares back to the club's owners. American businessman Bill Foley's 25% stake has been bought back by the Gordon family after both sides agreed the partnership hasn't worked. Brian McLaughlin has more.
Well, it's less than 2 years since Bill Foley and his Black Knight Football Group purchased a 25% shareholding in Hibernian Football Club for around £6 million. And at the time, the deal was announced by Hibernian as game-changing in terms of taking the club forward. But within a few months, cracks began to appear. Bill Foley was openly critical of the club's decision to appoint David Gray as head coach and Malcolm Mackay as sporting director. Over the past few months, there have been rumours surrounding the capital that Foley was looking to move on, and this afternoon it was announced that the pair had agreed to split amicably and that the shareholding was to be sold back to the Gordon family, who now own 85% of the club. In a statement this afternoon, the club's chairman, Ian Gordon, says there were philosophical differences between them on the vision for the club's future. But he went on to say, "We wish Black Knight nothing but the best moving forward." Now, this opens up the potential for further investment by others here at Easter Road, but we understand at the moment there are no discussions with any parties moving forward with regards to a further share sale. Brian McLaughlin for Reporting Scotland at Easter Road Stadium.
And we'll have more on that story on Reporting Scotland News at 7. Now to the international game, and Scotland striker Lyndon Dykes says he wants to secure World Cup qualification without having to rely on a playoff. To do that, Scotland have to avoid defeat away to Greece and beat Denmark at home.
It's going to be 2 difficult games. We have to make sure we focus on the first one because, you know, we have to make sure we do what we need to do in the first game. But I do hope we get, obviously, to Hampden against Denmark, and then we know exactly what we need to do. Obviously, we have got a bit of a buffer there, but in my eyes, we want to be going straight there because it's the best way and the easiest way to get to the World Cup. Yeah, there is pressure on these games, but the squad that we have, the players that we have, you know, they've played in massive games, every single one of them, and pressure comes with this sport. So you just have to take it as it is. And previously being in that Serbia, you know, for the first Euros, which seems a long time ago now, the pressure on that game was massive, and we got through that as a team. And the next thing's the World Cup, and we've got 2 major games, and we want to be getting, you know, automatic straight to the World Cup, and that's the end goal.
Now to rugby, and Finn Russell and Xander Fagerson are a step closer to featuring in Sunday's Autumn Nations Test against Argentina at Murrayfield. Both trained today. Russell picked up knee and ankle knocks in Saturday's defeat to the All Blacks, while Fagerson has been out since April. Gregor Townsend's side are taking on a team 2 places above them in the world rankings, who have claimed victories over some of rugby's best teams in the last few months.
So they've beaten All Blacks recently, they've beaten Springboks, they've beaten Australia, they've beaten many of the top teams, so effectively very important for us to make sure that we quickly learn from last week and get ready for a very tough game this weekend against a world-class side.
Finally, Glasgow City take on Sporting Lisbon tonight in the last 16 of the inaugural Europa Cup. They scored twice in injury time last month to beat Danish side HB Kua 6-5 on aggregate. Leanne Rossi's side are still unbeaten in the SWPL this season. They'll be hoping to carry that form into the first leg of tonight's tie. And you can watch the match live on BBC Alapa. Coverage starts at 7:25. Best wishes to them.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, Paul. Now it's Wednesday, so that means it is debate night. Stephen Jardine has all the details.
We're in Glasgow tonight, and our studio audience here will put their questions to a panel including Paul O'Kane from Scottish Labour, Murdo Fraser from the Scottish Conservatives, Alex Kerr from the SNP, businesswoman Mary Macklin, and fashion entrepreneur and Great British Sewing Bee judge Patrick Grant. Join us for debate night. We're at 9 on the BBC Scotland channel, or after the news, 10:40 on BBC One Scotland.
OK, and now it's time for all the weather with Chris. And Chris, actually, I have to say, I was expecting to see a Northern Lights picture up there. I've been looking at them all day.
I do have one. It's coming away shortly. I see you're dressed in Aurora green tonight. Very fitting.
It was all part of the plan.
If you were planning to see them tonight, I'm afraid there's a lot of cloud around.
Oh, dear.
But they will be active above the cloud, obviously. Lovely pictures, autumnal-wise, from our weather watchers today. But really, our focus is on the temperatures, because they are about to tumble. There's a cold snap on the way.
Oh, dear.
Thank you very much indeed, Rebecca. Very good evening to you. Yes, here we go. There's the Aurora picture promised, and a beautiful sight from one of our weather watchers down at Portobello last night. But tonight there's a lot of cloud around, and for some quite wet as well. Rain in the south just lifting its way northwards. Further north, a few showers coming in on a north wind, and it will be chilly, certainly where we have clear skies in the north, low single digits elsewhere, around 5 to 8 Celsius. So to tomorrow, and we've got this weather front here bringing out breaks of rain, but also a north wind setting in, and it will be a colder day tomorrow. So through central and southern Scotland, the cloud and the rain with you for much of the day. Further north, it's brighter than today, but with those northerly winds delivering some cold air, it will be quite chilly, and that cold air undercutting the cloud and rain. So even where we have the cloud and rain, it's going to be rather cold, 7, 8, 9 Celsius. At best. Further north, yes, brighter, but similar sort of temperatures, around 6 to 8 Celsius. Some of those showers actually just beginning to turn a little bit wintry over the highest hills and mountains. And certainly if you're in those north winds, quite a chill. Tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, the cloud and the rain in the south clears, leaving us with clear skies. So this is tomorrow night's temperatures. It will be a cold one, down to freezing, if not sub-zero, probably the coldest night of autumn so far. That takes us to Friday, and actually we've got a lot of dry weather around, quite bright. It will be a cold start, a frosty start, perhaps even the odd ice patch or two around, and then some sunshine into the afternoon, but not doing much for the temperatures, 5 to 8 Celsius. Bear in mind today it was 12, 13 Celsius, so by Friday 5 to 8 Celsius. And that cooling trend is with us right through the weekend and into next week too. A cold snap well and truly on the way. Let me show you what I mean. This is the outlook, and just to cast your eyes to Wednesday, a week from now, at best 2 degrees in Inverness, elsewhere around 5 Celsius. Some showers too. Those could be wintry. That's the forecast, Rebecca.
Thank you, Chris. Hats and gloves in Inverness, I think.
Everything.
Thanks. OK, just time for tonight's main news again. A landmark Supreme Court ruling could lead to multiple legal challenges by men convicted of sexual offences in Scotland. The Prime Minister defends his government after rumours of a leadership challenge. And 3 men are arrested after the body of a man was found in a field in Inverclyde. Amy Irons will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight, but until then, from everyone here, enjoy your evening.